Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff. That's the YouTube name. That's the company of these beard products and more. My name is Dan C. Bearden. This is the Doctor's Orders live stream. We are live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 87 episodes in a row. We'll be here next week. I hope you guys will as well. And if you're getting involved live, make sure you tune into the chat, drop some comments, interact with some positive people. If you watch on replay later on, consider leaving a comment. And if everybody could, hit that thumbs up. And if you have a buddy, I don't need like an Instagram share or a Facebook post, but if you have a buddy that has a beard, or especially today when we're talking about things like mental health, if you have somebody that maybe this stream could give them perspective or brighten their day, a little dose of positivity, send them a message, a DM, send them a text, email, maybe, but DM or text and say, hey, there's a pretty cool stream I think you'd enjoy, and have them come check it out. Who knows? Maybe it helps out their day, their week, their month, and beyond. I get the pleasure of co-hosting this show with someone who I consider one of my best friends in this world, someone that I respect the way they approach their family, they approach their business, and they approach their mindset just on life in general, which I don't think is appreciated enough. So if I could welcome my good buddy, Mr. Dr. Nick himself.
Why, thank you, sir. You know, normally I think after hearing that from most people, I would say like, oh my God, holy crap, thank you so much. I had no idea. I won't say holy crap, no idea, because speaking of mental health, you and I say these things to each other all the time regularly. It's not just like at a funeral, someone who's dead is going to find out how much you actually gave a crap about them, right? I think like that's one of the things I do all the time. I'm an over appreciator of friends. So Dan and I are well aware of all those things he just said, but no, dude. Yeah. Doing great, man. Thanks for being here. I'm glad to be here.
Side with you there too. I'm over on it, but
I am too. I'm so
the other night is actually a human in here. I'm not going to say their name because they wanted to be anonymous, but they're in the chat right now, and they wanted to donate. We did a Beard Advice Live, and they wanted to donate a gift card to Sam's Etsy shop. And I said on the stream, and I was like, what you guys don't realize a lot of times is that the feeling of receiving a giveaway is really cool, right? You hit the lottery, it's amazing. But there's also something genuinely special about giving that giveaway. And it's the same for appreciation. It's a two-way drug. It helps me and it helps you. It's a win all. And I really lead with that and believe in that. It's as much for me as it is for anybody else in the best way possible, if that makes sense.
Dude, yeah, that's so right. Because like, you know, and I think the chemical, like if we're talking like biologically, why that works, I think it does, like even remotely over the internet or over a live chat or over anything. When you do something for someone like that, it triggers your oxytocin receptors. Like it triggers that closeness chemical in your brain. It's like what women get with their babies. It's like what friends get when they're having a moment, whatever. And it's, I think you get that rush on both sides of that, which is a really cool thing.
Yeah. Nope, there's no doubt about it. So today we are going to, and that's kind of part of it, we're going to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about any topics you guys have, any questions you have, any experiences that might benefit someone else. We don't have a huge agenda today. We're just going to kind of go where the show takes us, which you guys know we love and enjoy. And Jill says, I'm like a crow. I bring little gifts to all my favorite people all the time. Confirmed.
She does. Yeah, confirmed. Yeah. The amount of times I walk into our kitchen and she's sitting there like putting together a little like thing, like a package of something. I'm like, what's that? You open this? She's like, no, I'm just packing something. I found this. I have to send it out to the command kids, like this and this and this. Like, oh, Maddox is gonna want this. And it's like she's like, oh God, it's just hilarious. And she's like, well, I found this at the store and I bought it for someone else. And well, I couldn't buy it for them without buying one for Violet. And then I couldn't get something for Violet without getting something. You know what I mean? So it's like, she does that though. Every time we go to like one of our favorite restaurants and we know we're going to see like someone we know that's there, she's like, ooh, I got this. I got to give it to someone, put it in my purse.
I love that. Violet actually mentioned you guys twice today. The first time is she was bouncing this little red Boston Red Sox ball around the house, and she was like, this from Jill and Nick? I said, yep, and she's just playing with it. And then I was at lunch, I was talking to Sam, and we were going over something, and I was like, oh yeah, that's their kid, Nick. And I was like, not that Nick. And she was like, Nick? I'm like, no, not, there's other Nicks in this world, Violet. And she was just
I love
stuck
how
on it.
I am Violet's only Nick.
Truly. And like when I said it, she wasn't in the conversation. Nick? And I'm like, no, Vi, no. So yeah, that's Miss Violet there. And yes, we'll be talking about all that stuff. But real quick, I do want to get a little scrolly on the bottom here. Just a little reminder, you guys, it is the last day of April, meaning it's the last day of this really cool month-long promotion that Jill kind of spearheaded and really kind of came up with the creative juices on. And that is with every order from Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff, by the end of the day today, gets a free full-size 1-ounce oil, straight up beard oil with mystery scent. Now, the mystery scent is something that's never been released before. At some point in the near future, the next week or two, we will have some kind of list to give you guys like the key scent notes. So you can be like, oh my gosh, I had this, I didn't know. And you'll be able to go back. But after today, it is done. I know that people have already contacted me and said, hey man, if I place it tomorrow, will it still count? No, it
Nope.
has to be today. And obviously this has been more than generous to run it for a month long now. And there's a lot of cool feedback they're going to get, and it can breed like future scents from this that are loved by the community. But today is that last day. So as somebody like our buddy Mark said in here, he said that the face wash is, or Dan there, but Mark says the face wash is absolutely awesome, and he's excited for his order. If you want to grab a face wash, if you want to grab another oil, if you want to grab a butter, any order gets that free mystery oil added on.
And if you have not tried the face wash, it is life changing. Like this is the face wash that makes, tough biker dudes standing around in leathers in Daytona stop me in the street and say, "Are you Dr. Nick? Like, my face feels so damn good after your face wash." So it can it's enough to make a grown man blush. If you haven't tried it, get on it.
It really is amazing. And Moose says, shout out to Jill. This was the coolest beard company idea ever. And for a month, crazy. Glad I placed an order.
So Moose, thank you for calling that out. And thank you for calling Jill out specifically, because this is the girl, just so you guys know, right? This promotion obviously has the mystery bottles have their own custom labels, right? They have custom scents. I think she's on the letter, what, P?
Yeah, it's like second half of the alphabet getting to now.
Oh, yeah, way down there. So think about this. Jill had this great idea. And to your credit, Moose, it is the coolest freaking idea that I think that anybody's done. It's awesome. Now, behind the scenes, this has been Saturdays and Sundays of like Jill on her Cricut machine, like bringing bottles home, bringing labels to the office, going back home because the Cricut's there, the bottling machines are here. She's in like steeping stuff. How many do I have of that? Shopify doesn't provide a way to automatically add a bonus product without installing some crazy app that wants you to integrate everything you do into it. So she's been manually editing orders. That means every morning going in, manually editing each order. You guys have gotten your product or your order update emails because it does that. So whenever you get that, that's not automated. That's Jill or Shelly manually editing each order to add those in, and then labeling them, filling them, picking them. This is easily like, if you take Jill's workload, I would say this added like 25% of her normal workload onto her normal workload, and she hasn't complained about it. She's been stoked about it, and she's just so she's pumped that she's doing something cool that you guys enjoy. But I mean, it's been yeah, she's made lots of pee jokes. And the funny thing is, she showed me this morning when she was labeling one, you have to like weed out the little pieces of vinyl out of like the vinyl sticker to put it on where the empty space is. She's sitting there weeding stuff, I guess, yesterday. And one of those peas like completely just disappears. Like it pops off. She's like, where the hell did that go? And then so this morning I hear her crack up while I'm getting ready. And she comes into the room. I'm like, what's so funny? And she shows me her brush. And she's like, I got pee in my brush.
Oh my gosh.
And she holds it up and there's the damn vinyl bee. It landed in her hair. And then she goes, before she gets ready this morning, she found it in her hair. It's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
So labor of love, guys. But she couldn't be happier doing it because of comments like that, Moose. So just, you're validating Jill's hard work here.
Yeah, it's been really cool. She's been crushing it. And one thing I love that it covers the month is they wanted to make sure everybody had the chance to try this experience, this deal, and not have just like a crazy FOMO, gotta buy it now. Because if you think about it, and this is definitely conscious, this covers for almost everybody 2 payday cycles.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the ability and you're like, I really want this, you have the chance to save on that paycheck and the next paycheck. That's amazing, with allowing as many people as possible to try this and be a part of it in something special. And especially if you give feedback to her, that can adjust how these scents go in the future. And so, yeah, I've genuinely thought it's been super cool, and the feedback has been phenomenal that I've heard.
It's been crazy cool. And people have like gotten their like favorites. They're like, oh, this one should come back. Like, you got to make this a scent, you know? So it's just, again, it's just a cool way, like talk about a cool way to do product development. You know, you give, you know, A through P out for random scents. Then you're like, yeah, what should we come out with next? Like, let's go back and look at the emails we got back for the mystery oils and see which ones people like the best and maybe pick 2 of them. Right. I mean, that's the way we do it.
Yep. No, it's super cool. So that deal's going on. I'll probably circle back once or twice more this stream just so everybody knows. And because it does hurt. I guarantee this will happen tomorrow in the next couple of days. People will reach out and say, I wish I knew about this deal. I wish I capitalized on that. And it's like, we're trying in every way possible to get that info out to you guys, but today is the last day of that deal. So if you want to grab something, even again, if you're like, man, I love peppermint rosemary, why not get a full other oil with it and get something cool and have that like collector's item type label for the bottle?
Yeah. Or if you know that you like if you like our oil, regardless of the scent, because of the carrier, the mysteries are still the same carrier. Order something that you haven't tried before. And that way you're still getting an oil that you know you'll like, regardless of the scent. And you're trying a product that maybe you've been sitting on the fence about, like a balm, or if you haven't tried our butter, if you haven't, you know, tried a face.
Exactly. And David, you're spot on. We all kind of brainstormed this idea, and Jill kind of birthed it out of 2 main things. It started as like spring cleaning, and it's like, okay, can clean through some of these essential oils that she wanted to experiment with and try, but it also was around tax time. So this was kind of like play on the idea of giving something back from the doctor, you know, a little bit of a return to you guys. And so it's turned out really well, and I'm super excited. And Walter, no limit, which again was amazing. It is any order is going to get that free oil added on. Great question.
Any order, yeah. And on top of that too, is like, if you like, you know, you place multiple orders, each one gets one. It's not like one per customer or anything.
Right. Yep. I love that. Absolutely love that. All right, guys. And we, like I said, we'll probably circle back to this, but we do want to talk as much as we can today. If you guys realize, like, man, that's their quickest intro into a topic ever. Yeah. We're trying to get to it. But today is all about mental health. Now, Nick, I got a couple of things queued up from the chat. Did you have something you wanted to start with to kick it off, or should we hit into the comments here?
Well, so, I mean, no, right? Like kind of, I say no, and then I'm going to keep talking. So yes, we've talked about mental health. We've talked about like physical health and mental health issues before, like the stress of like family and health issues and stuff.
Yep.
But we've never had anything dedicated to mental health. And I mean, it's a huge part of everybody's lives. And based on something somebody said to me in public last week, you know, my friend Jim, is right before you and I talked about this. It's when Wilson was down here I think it was like a Monday. We were coming into it was last Monday.
That makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. And so we were, you know, and we talked back and forth. We were picking up some lunch, and I saw this guy I haven't seen in a while. And his comment was like, we mentioned back and forth about how the seasons changing does good things for us both mentally, and how the winter did negative things for us mentally.
Big time.
And the woman at the counter looks over at us and she goes, man, it must be nice as guys to finally have it be 2024 where you can talk about the way stuff makes you feel, huh? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, here we are, we haven't seen each other in 6 months. We're standing in a public place in front of a female, you know, that's working at the restaurant. Normally that would be like, go back to 2001. That's where you do not talk about anything that's affecting you because you're a dude and you don't get to do that.
Yep.
And like someone else recognized, like, yeah, you look at you guys. I bet that feels good. You know, so it was it's one of those weird things that kind of gave me the motivation, I think, for you and I to go back and forth and land on doing this topic. And I think what I want to talk about with mental health, because when you talk about mental health, you can very easily, I think, have a very unproductive conversation dwelling on the things that are bad that negatively impact your mental health. And I think we all have different things that negatively impact our state of mind. And we could literally all go on in a circle for a week about things that negatively impact us, right? But the thing is, they're all different. And so it's not really relevant to everybody. And I think what this one is important to do is, not necessarily talk about the things that like the problems, because that's the easy way to do it. Talk about the things that are like your positive coping mechanisms, right? Like I want to talk about the things that, like, what do we do that pulls us out of a bad state of mind? What do we do that puts us into a good state of mind? Or on top of that, like, just what are some of the things that would normally, I guess, take you down a limiting or negative path, and you've turned it into a superpower, and you do cool things with it. Or maybe it's a question from you guys about something that does impact you, and you don't know how to move past it or utilize it to find its strength and how it can help you, right? Because I think a lot of the things that we talked about last week, for example, that people could view as a negative, I think are some of the reasons that I'm able to do what I do. And I think it's why Dan does what he does. And I think it's why a bunch of people in here are good at what they do, right? I'm having ADHD or having hyper focused, or, having things that cause them on a spectrum to see things that other people don't, and interact with things in a way that's different than other people and give them an edge, right?
Yep.
So I guess if I had one way to kick it off, it would be to say that this is talking about kind of like mental health as a whole. So, all of those things are to do with it, like the things that get you going, the things that you can't really figure out. I think this is a great place to talk about it, which is something we encourage all the time. But I think having this focused on it is just going to stir up some cool conversation.
Agreed entirely. And look at our guy, Jacob. He says he just purchased a gift card and would like to give it away to someone in the chat.
Awesome.
So
dude,
cool.
Jacob, you're the man, as always.
Yeah, we'll do that, Jacob. Just probably towards the end of the stream, I'll do like a random number generator or something like that. And with the gift card, it's pretty simple. We'll just need to, we'll get the emails all lined up, and we'll make sure that's taken care of. So, man, very, very cool of you, Jacob. That's gonna be a beautiful way to end a little bit more of a serious kind of stream. It's not gonna be down or anything, but a little bit more serious topic. So beautiful, dude. Thank you so much.
So right out of the gate.
Yeah, Moose. Yeah, so cool.
So Moose talks about hiking.
Right. Oh, yeah, Moose. Yep.
So Moose talks about hiking and about how it'll fix you. Hiking long distances, he just says, I don't know if it'll fix you, but it'll definitely give you the mental tools to do so. So I guess what I start wondering is, getting some weird audio. You hear that?
Nope.
Maybe I don't hear you.
Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2. It's me and you in the chat. It's where we're at. You guys get a little song break for lunch today. You're welcome. You are welcome here. But Moose, no, I agree. Sam and I took up, as you know, hiking last summer for the first time. And we are full-blown addicted to nature. Just fully addicted. I mean, we went to Acadia. We have gone through as many state parks as possible. We went to a national shoreline with Pictured Rocks. There's something special about that physical activity, but also just being in nature with the smells and the sounds and the sights. There really is something therapeutic to it, to not like put that word out there lightly. For me, it has been therapeutic.
Dude, you're dead on. Sorry about that. I bumped something with my knee, I guess. What I was going to ask is something you just said. So like the sounds, right, of hiking. I see people that go hiking and they put in earbuds and they're listening to music. And it's not to say that like I've never gone hiking, or sat somewhere in nature and listened to music, right? But I'm wondering, like, does that kill part of the experience, or does that alter it? Does that make it a different experience?
It would kill it for me, because I think it's so special because it's so different than most of our normal lives. Most of our normal lives include walls. Most of our normal lives include LED lights. They include concrete. They include rubber tires. And it's very rare that you get to, and how often do you have music? How often do you have live streams and podcasts?
All the time.
For me, it's that separation that's special, and
Me too.
It really makes a difference.
Me too. I mean, and one, Moose is going to say, well, yeah, but doing the kind of hiking I'm hiking, you can't do that at all because, you know,
Right.
a bear might sneak up on you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a fact. They're physically dangerous too. There's no doubt there. So yeah, the hiking is huge and kind of a similar topic, but then even taken a little bit farther, Ken says just in general, exercise, right? In general, exercise. And Nick, you probably know more about it than I do with the specifics, but I do know when you exercise, there are chemicals that are released and that have a huge mental impact, whether it's, I don't know if it's serotonin, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but I do know that the actual like chemical aspect of exercise can help you.
Yeah, I believe it's like a dopamine reaction that happens at some point because it's like your sympathetic nerve system kind of kicks in because it's healing your muscles from everything that it's doing. And I mean, it's like whenever your body's in a healing process, it's good. It gets to focus on that instead of anything else.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then Ken takes it further and says, go to therapy. Now, therapy, we have actually just started for my son, Jax. Sam has been to therapy before. For whatever reason with me, therapy is not the best fit. And I think the reason why is I am like wild, probably far too far on this, but I'm wildly introspective. If there's something off on me, if there's something wrong that I'm doing, I deeply know it. It deeply haunts me and I'm constantly working on it. So it's never been a situation where it's like something is exposed and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like eye opening. And I dug up this like buried stuff. It's like, I beat myself up over this stuff way more than any therapist could, but I know
Oh yeah.
not everybody brain works that same way. And for my son Jax, he actually looks forward to it and actually brags about therapy. We were just talking about my son Maddox, me and Nick before this, about like they're in this little competition, 2 years apart, you get the one up kind of game. Jax was like, yeah, I get to go to therapy on Wednesday. Max was like, what's it like? He's like, I play board games and talk to a cool person. Sometimes I have snacks. And he's like pitching it like as this really cool situation. But then if you really break it down, you're like, what are you there for, man? He's like, well, it's really helping me with my anxiety. Like when I feel nervous, it's helping me come up with ways to handle it and not be nervous. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And to be able to hear my son, a male, be able to talk about therapy so openly. And then as a dad, right? A bro, I'm tatted up, big, bearded dude. I'm like singing the praises of therapy. Like we kind of said earlier, man, we've come a long way in a short amount of
Dude,
time.
such a long way. Like I can talk to my son about that stuff, about his therapy, about how I've been through. And it's funny with you too, because like therapy for me is like, so like the mental health side of it, like psychologists, psychiatrists, like that side of the medical side of the mental health world is something obviously that still helps me in therapy. Like you, I feel like so like the last person I worked with, it took so long for them to be able to get to the point where like they could help me like walk through and talk through the issues that I had because I'd already walked through them so deeply. And like
Yeah.
on the surface, they'd be like, well, have you thought about this? Yes. Okay. And then when I did that, I thought, and I go through it. And it's like, I feel like I'm leading them down like to the, hey, here's the problem. It's like the dog that runs out of a coal mine with someone that's stuck somewhere. And like, you got to go get help. And then like the help comes and follows you. Like, I feel like the dog leading to someone to help, but it takes me like 8 months to lead them through the cave to find the person that's like stuck under the beam.
Right. No, I totally get that 100%. But I know it's been effective for a lot of people. And yeah, Diablo says, I can see Jax helping other kids. Oh, no doubt about it. He's going to be like braggadocious about it in a great way possible,
That really does help too. Like just like the camaraderie side of it, knowing that it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess what's interesting about it is if you think about it, guys have always done these things that like, I'm not saying that every dude does, and I'm not saying that no women do, right? So I'm not being exclusionary here. Traditionally speaking, right? Like guys like, okay, so dinner happens, everything's kind of winding down, the typical dad stereotype, right? As he goes out in the garage and he works on something, or he goes out to a wood shop, or he goes and does something on his computer, whatever. Like those things, whether anyone's talked about it all these years or not, are coping mechanisms for dealing with like the pressures of life that you deal with. And like they've always done it. So like you look at like the old 50s things of dad at his study, or like someone out in the garage working on an engine. Like those were not talked about at the time, like in 1950, when like the guy's out in his garage working on the car he's building. Like that was a coping mechanism. Like that was something he did to make it so where it was worth living that day, because maybe it wasn't unless he got to look forward to doing that at the end of the day. Right. And that's why, like, I guess my point there is, there's people around you, and I just learned this, but there's people around you that do things that you may not find interesting, right? That you might detract from or not really give importance to. But what you need to realize is that person might actually have that thing as the one thing they looked forward to that day.
Yeah.
Right. And it might not be important to you, right? Because that's not your coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm. No,
but imagine, if you downplayed or belittled something that somebody did, that was the only reason that got them to not swerve into a tree on the way home that day.
Yeah.
Right. And you just don't know, which is why it's like, we need to respect each other's kind of just differences. Like we all do different stuff to make us happy. We all do different stuff that, to get aggression out or to focus on something else or whatever it might be. But it's like, it's vast. You have no idea the things people could be doing because that's their way of coping.
It's so true. That's so funny. I was talking about that with Sam yesterday. Rough day, different situations, and it's like, I need Command's Corner tonight. Like, I know that this stream has my back. I know that this is going to be an amazing thing, and it's like, how many people would realize that is something that you like hold on to, and you're like, I need this thing, and if it's taken from you, the negative impact that could have. But I love what you're talking about. And the main thing is that we're changing the frame. It's like you're always going to cope. You're always going to try your best to get by and survive and thrive, hopefully. But it's been framed differently now. Back then, it was framed as toxic and bros and this and that. And now we are framing it in a way of, okay, you're doing this because of this. Hey, you don't have to hide, because on the side of men back then, they weren't talking about it. They weren't saying, I need to go to the garage because this is what's getting me through so I can provide for my family. I can do this. They just go and grunt and then pop a beer, Now we've opened the dialogue, and it's much more understanding. Perspective is one of my favorite words in the world, because it truly can change everything. And we're in different times. If we're looking back and we're thinking about some of those images of the guy getting home for work and throwing his shoes and then going out, man, we are just post-war time. We're at a time where the world was very different, and it's so great that now the really big difference makers is really communication and understanding.
Dude, so communication and understanding, as if a perfect segue into Stephen Bow's question here and comment. I love how once this gets going too, the comments have changed from like 3 or 4 words into like short little paragraphs and multiple sentences. Like, this is good.
Yep.
And I'm going to answer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give my perspective on this a couple of ways, but without no negative connotation, because what could happen here is you're like, oh, she's blah, 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 she shouldn't.
Right.
Here's what I'm going to say. So that is, I think.
And what is the question for people that can't read it?
So those questions, okay. My wife the other day called me a feminine. Stephen Bow says, my wife the other day called me a feminine man and sassy for doing my morning beard routine with heat. It really bothered me. And how do I go about addressing it? So one, it's not wrong that it bothered you, right? That's totally cool. Nothing wrong with you being bothered by that. You're not being sensitive. You're not being nitpicky. You're not being hyper this or that. In my mind, though, that we're on a weird little cusp. I don't know how old you are, Stephen, but in the world that we live in right now, I think people kind of have one leg in and one leg out of what we're talking about right now, right? They want a man in their lives, women want a man in their lives that can appreciate and respect their need to feel and process things, right? And they also want us to include them in our processing of things and the way we do things. But okay, well, that's actually younger than I thought, Stephen, because like I feel like that's a holdover from an old mentality, right? That's from her hearing as she's like younger, or the people she was around growing up, putting down men that like cared about their appearance or cared about the way they smelled. Like if you come from a community that's all, coal miners and you're the one dude that he treats his beer and uses beard products, like there's going to be like this social stigma to that. Right. But I feel like that's a holdover because I feel like most people who would say things like that, especially someone that's like, late 20s, almost 30, has literally just like from absorption felt the need almost to say those things. I don't think she actually feels like that. I don't. Like, I'm pretty sure that she probably appreciates the way you look and the fact that you look groomed and the way you look good, right? And she'll compliment you on the way you look. But the process is still something that seems a little too nitpicky or a little too prim and proper, whatever she grew up around. So I would actually kind of explore that and be like, I don't think you actually meant this, and I know you like the way I look, right? But just so you know, like when you said this or that, it really did. It bugged me. Like, not mad, not telling you to change what you're doing. But I think like one, it bugged me. And two, I don't think you actually meant what, I interpreted from what you said.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've talked about this a lot. There are things that just become things. And what I mean by that is if me and Nick go anywhere together, we're going to get 2 comments. We're going to get ZZ Top and Duck Dynasty. That's it. It's not YouTube. It's not beard product companies. It's not U.S. National Beard Champion. You should enter a beard contest. It's, hey, look at ZZ Top. Now, do these people like consciously think and really go into detail and say, oh my gosh, yeah, I do remember that beard looked like this one. And then no, it's just a thing. And people just want to break the ice. People just want to say things. And oftentimes in relationships, whether it's friends, coworkers, or couples, you just kind of razz each other. You just kind of give little points. And oftentimes it's just things. It's just whatever pops in mind because it's a thing. And a guy taking care of his beard is a thing that people just go to and say. If you don't believe me, go check any of the comments in my morning routine videos. There's a plethora of them. So go check those ones out. Yeah, it's just a thing. Now, for us, it's something we care about. And when something is a thing, we are all naturally more sensitive to that, right? Anytime you care about something, you take a little bit more offense to it, as you probably should, because you care about it. It's something that means a lot to you. So it was delivered. I agree with Nick. Probably wasn't too much thought to it. I don't think it was probably putting you down. It was just a little razz, a little shot at a thing. I would approach it in the same way. Sam and I, if we ever have something like that, we just start it by saying random observation. So it's not something that's just been killing us. We're not putting pressure on them. And we'll just say random observation, and then we share it. Today, Sam had one for me at lunch. Jax has been frustrating the heck out of me by leaving his clothes on the ground. Today, I was like the 20th day in a row where I'm just like, put your clothes away. And I said to him, and this is word for word, I said, Jax, put your clothes away. Stop putting them on the ground like a baby. Now, is that the worst thing of all time? No. But if I step back and I breathe and I look at the situation, is that the best way to probably teach my son by calling him a baby? Even though it's a baby-like move, probably not. If my goal is for him to change his behavior, there's probably a better method for me. I agree. I agree.
If the goal was to make yourself feel better while being partially constructive, you accomplished that, right?
Exactly.
But if you wanted to actually do something all the way constructive and not self-satisfying, there'd be like no reason for that part to be in there.
100%.
That part was for you, not for him.
And part of that is I love being petty. Like time to time, I love being petty. I'll just be, I enjoy it. It's fun for me. I shouldn't do that with my kid. I shouldn't do that in that situation. So she was right. She had that random observation. I did not feel attacked by her. Now, if she would have said it 3 seconds after I did that, maybe I would have been a little bit defensive, but I had time to sit on it. She delivered it in a beautiful way. I've reflected. I'm going to be better because of it. That's how we approach our situations. And if I have something for her, same kind of thing. I would do exactly like Nick said. I would just say, hey, babe, random observation, not a big deal, but I do want to make sure we're on the same page here. When you said something about me being feminine and getting ready, I really didn't appreciate that. This is something I really enjoy. I love the result, and I would not try to do the same to you in that situation. I can almost guarantee they're going to say, I wasn't a big,
like,
I wasn't
whoa,
trying to make
that's not what I meant at all. Yeah. Oh, sorry, it came off like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I will earmark that though, because we're here talking about men's mental health, right?
Yep.
And something about men's mental health for a long time has been downplaying things and looking over stuff that's actually issues. So I will then like footnote my previous answer here that if anyone experiences like a trend of like emasculating comments, right?
Yeah.
Like someone always wants to find a way to make you feel emasculated, to make you feel less, like all those sorts of things. That's mental abuse, right? So like if someone does that habitually, like that's what that is. And there's been a long ass time where it was thought that like men couldn't be mentally abused by women. And we
Right.
actually found out later that women are actually the larger mental abusers than men, right?
Yeah.
So that's a part that needs to be okay to talk about too. So I'm not in any way trying to like downplay a larger theme if one exists, but on a spot test, right, that's kind of where where I see it. But again, don't feel like you need to marginalize things people do that make you feel that way if that's like a reoccurring theme, right?
Yeah, it's very different if you've made it clear how you feel about that action.
Oh
If
yeah.
you have this new approach and you're cool about it and you say, "Hey, I didn't appreciate that. It's not a big deal, but I just want to let you know that's not something I would like moving forward." And then they consciously choose to continue to do that, knowing how it makes you feel. Now we've got a different conversation.
Oh
Now
yeah.
it's something
Like,
different.
oh yeah. Like, and I know that side of it really, really well, it's something that I had to move through quite a bit out of like a super duper mentally abusive relationship that went on way too long, and I had to unravel a whole bunch of stuff and go, oh, and realize what Bearded Funhouse just said, that yeah, abuse can come from both sides.
For sure. And several of you have had kind of messages echoing this one here. Today's stream couldn't come at a better time. Yesterday was a tough day. Hey, we all have them, man. I think, again, kind of on the same topic, what is, I think, pretty special about Nick and I's relationship is when we have those rough days, we confide in each other. We reach out to each other. We tell them. We don't worry about appearing manly. We don't worry about being like, man, if I tell Nick I'm having a rough mental day today, or this happened, I need to vent about and get this off. I don't worry about him judging me. I don't worry about him thinking that I'm girly or something that I'm not, or that I'm weak. We just have this understanding that you can be amazing, but also have these struggles. You can also talk about him, and you'd be amazed at what a 20-minute conversation can do for that mindset in that day. It can flip everything around because we understand each other. We get it.
Dude, and you know what's funny too? And I think we both do this. Like, you sent me a text last week that's like, hey, you got him in, I need a vent session. And I was like, done, call you in 5. And I did. And what was funny about that day is like, I think this is interesting. I thought about it afterwards, is that like I was having a really good day that day, right? I was having like all kinds of, it was kind of crazy, but I had some good stuff happening. I was making good progress on stuff.
Yep.
And all I thought when I saw that text, and I was like, I know at the end of this phone call that Dan's going to feel better. And because of that, I'm going to feel better. So I'm going to take my good day and make it better by talking to Dan. And I'm going to take his point where, he's not feeling so great and make his day better. So like win-win, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to do that with someone?
Yep, and look at Ellie's comment that I'd saved from earlier. Perfect timing. One of the best gifts you can give someone is a reason to smile.
Dude, dead on.
Exactly what we were talking about right there.
Dead on, man.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Jill, yeah, spot on here, saying nothing is more manly than being in tune with one's emotions.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, so like I won't give specific situations here, but what I will say is that over the course of the past 45 days, call it, to not assign any specific time range to it, there has been a time where like my son Jack caught me in the middle of just some really rough moment, right?
Yeah.
Normally what I think a lot of people would do is they would like close the door. Hey, bud, I'll be out there in a minute. Like, hey, give me a second, and go, excuse themselves somewhere else. Like, I never do. Like with my kid, the amount of times that like I've hugged my son and like actually cried on his shoulder is like, I can't even really think of all of them, because there's been multiples, right? Anytime where that's something that needs to happen, like I don't exclude him from that. Like I want him to know like that's totally okay. Like I want him to know that we have that back and forth. I want him to know that that's okay with me. I want him to know that I'm okay with doing that with him, and I think it's important for him to learn that young, so that when he's older and has kids, like he doesn't put up those walls between him and his kids either. Because it was a long ass time until I realized that was something, it was okay to like cry in front of a friend. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think that was something that you could do as like a dude growing up. Like I didn't know that was okay.
Yeah, and I'll be like super open here. I don't know where I'm at emotionally on that because legitimately I don't cry, and I don't say that in a tough guy way at all. I've literally wanted to at times, but it just doesn't happen for me. People are like, when your grandparents pass, you're gonna cry. I didn't. It was sad. It was horrible. I went to the funerals, but I didn't cry. When your children are born, you're gonna have tears of joy. I didn't. It just didn't happen. It just doesn't work that way. Now, with that said, I did grow up in a house where it was you don't cry. It was men are tough. And so I don't know if that's nature versus nurture or a combination of both, but it is something that I've deeply looked at, and I don't shy away from emotion. If I have sad emotions, I share it with you. I share it with Sam. I share it openly. I don't run from that. But for whatever reason, my cry mechanism does not function.
It might just
empty.
be disconnected, man. You might have unplugged it at a young age. You know what's weird for me is like the things that get me, like I'm someone who does cry. And the fact that but it's not from pain, right? If something hurts real bad, it's something pain. Nope, that doesn't do it. Something that's even really sad, like you said, like at a funeral, right? Like someone passed away, like that doesn't even really get me, which always makes me feel kind of weird, actually, because I'm always like, oh crap, I'm supposed to cry, and like you're not.
Well, so you get a snapshot of my whole entire life of feeling like I should be crying in situations, and I physically can't. Imagine how strange that is in every time where that should be the case.
It's like, damn it, everyone now is going to think I'm a robot. And everyone already kind of thinks I'm a robot.
I told you guys, the only times I get awkward are in situations where I feel like I should be emotional or I should have something, and I don't know what to do, so I break it with terribly inappropriate humor, and that doesn't work out, especially at funerals, but that's my go-to.
Well, you know what? It's like that's just exchanging one emotion for the other. Yeah. What gets me, dude, is where things like things bubble up in frustration or like uncontrollable bad situations, right? Like something, you know what I mean? Like you can't, it's so weird. Like people are like, I'm not a control freak. What gets, I never cry either. What makes you upset? When I can't control something, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like how I feel sometimes, is like when the ship in the bottle feeling, you just can't reach the sail and the rope to go onto the, like, that's what gets me. And like, that's what'll push me over the edge. It's so weird. It's very rarely like sad stuff or painful stuff or things like that. But I mean, still, that's an overwhelming emotion that gets me, right? So I guess like that's what it is, I guess.
For sure. And Cameron's right. I actually talked about this last night, and I'll echo it just a little bit here because it's something that I've really, yeah, JP, exactly. That's something that I really like recycle in my mind all the time. And Cameron says, we're talking about the stigma of men and speaking about emotions and mental health. He says it's getting better, but it's definitely still not there. There's a lot of stigma, even if it isn't as overt as it used to be. And the thing that's really stood out to me is I think we've had this
one.
What's that?
It's passive now.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is we've had this like renaissance of, I hate this term, but feminism and women expressing themselves and getting on TikTok and getting online and sharing the struggles of being a mom, right? I didn't know the term postpartum depression before Sam had kids. Sam didn't know the term postpartum depression. Once that's out there, it's like, oh my gosh, the community, the world opens their arms and they're like, lady, we got you. There's hormones. This is crazy. And I feel like it's been more vocal for women and mental health and chemical imbalances and all this. Just like it's praised. It is like celebrated to talk about in the most beautiful way as it should. But that same kind of push hasn't gotten to the men's side of things yet. And it's like you said, oftentimes it's thought men can handle it. Men need to just put that on their shoulder. Men need to work. And for me, the most troubling stat in any of this is if you look at suicide rates. The suicide rate for men is 3 to 5 times higher than women in the United States. And so that's telling us exactly this. Suicide, mental health, huge tie in there. We're not doing enough yet to make men feel comfortable talking about it, learning about coping mechanisms and getting it out there. So I do think we have much more to go. But it starts with conversations like this. It starts with showing people it's okay to talk about it. You can still be a dude. You can still go and burn 1,000 calories and go get tatted up and make awesome beard products, but also say, hey, man, I'm struggling today. I just want to let you know and have those conversations rather than bottling it up, because what happens, and I do know this, is like you said, There's a lot of guys that hold on to one thing. It's that moment. I know I can get home. I could just get to my truck. I just got to get to the baseball game tonight. I just got to get to that. What happens when that's removed? What happens when he gets home and now something else calls into work or the family has this? That's when a lot of people reach breaking points. And then on top of it, you drop a big bill that's late for their mortgage. That pressure is consuming, but we have people to help. We have people to share and talk about it. So I do agree that there is a lot more that needs to come out on the men's side of things. And I'm so proud of the way women have been able to open up and talk about it.
Dude, yeah. And I feel like, yeah, we're getting closer and closer to like that, you know, that non-binary level playing field of like certain things that everybody can do. It's like bathroom signs have done it now. You know, they got pants on one side and like a skirt on the other. You know, conversations about mental health kind of need to be the same, right? The conversation is they have pants on one side and a skirt on the other side. And it's like whatever in between, like, you know, 10 toes, 10 fingers and human.
Right.
I mean, that's because there's certain things that we just have so much, you know, in common that's been like, okay, one way and not the other. And that's not to say, I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, we're so injustice. Like, look at all the things that men have been able to do all these years that women haven't been able to 100%. Do until just recently.
Yep.
Right. So it's not like I'm saying that there's like oh God, feel bad for us poor guys haven't been able to talk about our feelings. Like we've been able to do a ton of stuff that was not okay for women to do until the past 20, 10, and even 5 years. Right. So all I'm saying is that like, it's cool that those things are now happening. And I think this needs to kind of hurry up and lift up along with it because it's making progress. But like we said here, like it's still got a ways to go.
Yeah, and Cameron's a very interesting point here, and he says women attempt more often, but men will die 3 to 5 times more. And he says there's a lot of reasons, but it also has to do that men do not talk to people, so there's a stronger resolution. So they feel like it's more drastic. Yeah, I can totally see that.
So like it's taking everything inside of me to not like make a terrible humorous comment based on that last statistic that you just gave me there. So I won't. But what I will say about it is that I think what you said is exactly the reason why. It's because there's less of a, well, hold on. Do you want to meet up and talk about that? Like, hold on. No, everything's fine. You know what I mean? Like there's less of that. Because there's the like the unwillingness or like the door, they don't feel people don't feel like the doors are open for them to have that conversation before it gets to the point of just being unmanageable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And Kevin's right. He said it's hard when you grow up with that shut up and be a man thing. And so again, to be vulnerable here, I'm raising my boys and I want my boys. I do think there's value in being masculine and being strong and being tough and working through things, but it's all about how you deliver that message. So let's say my kid gets hurt in soccer. We play a lot of soccer. We go against teams. We have kids on our team that are just babies, just factually babies. The wind blows the wrong way, they're down and crying. The grass is cut in a certain angle, they're down and their life is over, rolling on the ground. That's not acceptable with my kids because it doesn't match the input, right? Their output is way more exaggerated than the input. Now,
we deal with that too. Yeah. It's like explosive outputs for very accidental or sometimes not intentional input.
Exactly. But I think the shift has to happen in how you make that correction and that correlation to a positive path forward. It's no longer get up and be a man, tough it out, man. It's being like, hey, are you hurt or are you injured? There's a difference.
Are you being a reasonable human?
Right.
And not so are you being a strong man? Not are you being a girl? Are you being a reasonable human right now?
Yeah, we have to shift how we deliver that message. And
that guy was dead on. I mean, like Kevin, you're totally dead on. Like I was born in 83 and you know, we're the Oregon Trail generation, right? Like we grew up without computers. The next thing you know, school had computers. The next thing you know, our lives are run by technology. So we were born like before everyone was dependent on it. And now we live in a world where you are.
Yep.
But the weird part is that we were very much like 100. I mean, when you're kind of learning how to react to things that bug you, I don't know, what does that happen? Like between 5 and 8 to 10, you start to kind of realize like how, I think that's like the early building blocks of like conscious decisions to react about something and then getting input to those conscious decisions.
Right.
And I was in Warrensburg, Missouri with my dad worked at a car dealership and we lived next to a cow farm and a dairy. So I can promise you that in whatever year that was, late 80s, that, in that world in the Midwest, probably still very much that way in that part of the country. The shut up and be a man was like what you heard about everything, right? So there was no like, I'm having a day, or, I don't know why this is bugging me, but it is. Can we talk about it? Like, that's not something you could say back in the Midwest in the late 80s.
No, I still right now I could not ever imagine bringing that to my parents. Like it's just such like that's like mind blowing. If I would have been like, "Hey, Dad, I want to let you know I'm a little bit burned out and I need a little mental break,"
he'd be like, "What the hell did you just say to me?"
Yeah, it would have been anger.
Were those words?
Yeah, it's just different. Now, we've got about 10 minutes left with a giveaway in here from Jacob, aka Jacked Up Leatherworks. Let's kind of round out the conversation with some other coping mechanisms. For example, I like this one from Ken. I do think our beard in many different ways can be a coping mechanism. He said that he did a transparency trimmed and it helped his mental health.
Dude.
Yes.
We talked about a bit. That's actually one of the things that spurred on this stream.
Yep.
Last week was what's the dude's name? He talked about how trimming his beard and taking care of his beard is like therapy for him.
Yeah.
Yep. I can see his avatar. Anyway, that's 100% it, man. I mean, like anything that makes you feel good about your appearance, one, that's a huge thing with mental health. But like the beard part of it, I mean, look at bonsai trees and topiaries and Japanese Zen gardens. Like it's one that you have on your face. Like this is literally like a bonsai tree process that you get to carry around with you all day on your face. I mean, they even like, what was it? They proved that like pruning a plant that needs constant pruning and caring for something's shape, like did all sorts of good things for your physical health. Even like in Japan, they say that like bonsai trimming is like an important part of like, living in a Zen state. So, I mean, why wouldn't doing a transparency trim, do that to you?
100%. Yeah, it was Joshua that had talked about his beard last week. Yep.
Yeah, Joshua did that. Yep.
And
that was it.
Yeah, so the trim can make you feel better, make you more confident. The actual time of taking care of your beard, I genuinely believe for those of us that care about it, that enjoy it, it's therapeutic because if you're a husband and you are a father and you are a businessman or a worker, all of your time is usually prioritized out and elsewhere.
On other people.
Right. It's for other people. So if you have that time for yourself, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes of taking care of your beard, putting that feeling of putting in a product like Dr. Nick's oil, peppermint rosemary, which is in beard right now, and then getting that smell, and it's going to trigger something in your brain that, man, I'm going to have a good beard day today. Man, my beard's going to look good. My beard's going to feel good. There's got to be something chemically going on that's helping you out. Because I know for me, it's straight up therapy. And when people are like, how long does it take you to get your beard ready? I'm like, not long enough, because I love it.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. Not long enough, because it's one of the better parts of my morning. Like being able to just, get ready, check things out. I mean, it is. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah. And then Jill and several in the chat, and Nick, you don't know anything about this, I'm sure, but Jill uses ink therapy as a coping mechanism. So to go to get a tattoo,
huge.
What do you think that's about? Because there's millions of people that agree. Why is that therapeutic?
That's the same, I think, as any other, seemingly painful activity that provides someone a positive benefit. I think it's because, like, for me anyway, I have such a distracted brain, and I know Jill's in this boat too, that we are stackers, right? So like when things that are on our list, like we stack them up, and then when something goes wrong, we're like, oh God, and this, oh, and I have this to worry about, and this, and this, and this, and this. And next thing you know, you got like this mountain of problems in front of you because like you literally built it yourself. And I think tattoos, for example, your brain is just so focused on getting through the next wipe of that paper towel. I think that's like, it puts yourself into like this weird little hyper focused 20-second mental loop that happens where you're like, everything else is gone. That deck is completely unstacked. You've yard sailed that like hours ago. And now you're literally just focused on how do I get through until I can take a full deep breath when he's in between with the needle in my skin and in a paper towel wiping over the fresh, spot that just got tattooed. Like, it's such you go into like this very short period survival mode that I think makes it to where like literally nothing else actually exists in your brain. It's a nice break. And then you combine that with, of course, endorphins and adrenaline probably. I mean, I think that's what kind of gives you like a peaceful solace.
Yeah, Jill just wrote a gosh dang poem right here. This is beautifully worded. And she says, for me, physical pain release is easy and you end up with something beautiful, not destructive. Clearly, we know there are other pain release ways that are easy, but you are left with destruction
and they're not productive.
And so that is so,
I think also to key off of that, I think when physical pain leaves the body, it pulls along with, like, think of it like a string that you're pulling out of your head, right? That string is like pulling mental pain along with it. Like, I think when you give your body like an unavoidable release of physical pain, there might be something to it where some of the mental stress and other stuff from mental pain kind of does come with it a little bit.
Yeah. And even like kind of piggybacking off what you said here, it's easy to overthink things. So if you can take a step outside of that, which you, I, and many others have, that's powerful. That's powerful.
That's outside perspective right there. That's like being able to like, I almost feel like sometimes it's like putting what's in your head in a box and being able to like set it on a table and like go like this and like look around at like different angles of it. You know what I mean? And like actually examine it and not look through it, but look at it.
Yep. I love that.
Ooh, that's another thing. I think looking through all those thoughts is very different than looking back at them. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you remove yourself from that snow globe of emotion, whatever it is, right, and you look at it and you can shake it and check it out, I think anything that pulls you out and allows you to like look is super powerful. Because I mean, imagine all those people, right, that have like killed themselves out there, and imagine if they were able to like bottle the way they were feeling, not feel like that for a second, and like analyze it and be like, oh yeah, well that clearly wasn't, and I wasn't, oh well, I would have done, you know what I mean? Like, that moment, I think, would save a lot of people.
Yeah, no doubt. And Cameron, I gotta flex real quick here. He says there's a lot of science behind aromatherapy. Might be a video topic, Dan. Something like this, Cameron, with all peer-reviewed journals on the studies there.
Imagine that. And it's so weird. It's almost like a lot of those things there have like essential oil ingredients that are in a lot of our products.
I think you might have all of them. That'd be crazy.
That would be kind of crazy, huh?
Yeah, that would be nuts.
That would take a lot of work, and it would take someone a lot of dedication and like research to put something like that together.
That's Cameron, that's crazy, man. I like your idea. We'll see what we can do with it. All right.
Love it.
Love it. And then last one before the giveaway, many of you have echoed this exact comment. You can just go up, look at Kevin's. I'll highlight in a second here, right here. But G Squared says mental health. Discovering this community a few years ago was such a blessing for my mental health. Kevin says, I was recently diagnosed with PTSD. I thought I had it for years, but never done anything about it. No one knows except my wife. My beard and this community have helped me more than anything.
Dude, that's huge. Like, the two of you guys saying that, I imagine others feel the same. But even if you were the only two, that would literally make everything I've done here, this past 87 episodes worth it. And the community that you guys have welcomed us into, like, it's done the same thing for me, just so you know, right? I'm not this is not and I don't take that, by the way, G Squared, as like this community on this live stream. This community exists way outside of this, and it exists across Dan's community. It exists across ours and others. And it existed way before I even knew that I needed to be a part of it. So like, I'm going to say that not like oh, well, you're welcome. No, I don't claim that whatsoever. I'm on the opposite side of that, the same as you, saying like, this community being here did amazing things for me mentally and for our company, obviously. But the fact that you guys have welcomed us into this community, and then we've been able to like contribute back with any sort of a platform that helps others do the same, that's huge. And hearing that, it's huge.
Yeah, and it really is. And people are like, how do you keep going when there's like people talking bad and haters and rude people and all this stuff because of that. Like, do
Mm-hmm.
you think I care that someone says something about me that they never have met me? They don't know anything really about me, but we have people telling me that they're suffering through something, and this channel, this community, this beard stuff has helped them more than anything. Okay, you could
Can
keep
you
your
imagine
yeah.
what would happen based on that? Like, if you came on and did a video that's like, hey guys, I know this has been a lot of fun. Love all of you, but I was reading some comments on the video that I dropped on Monday, and well, I just can't keep doing it knowing that
Right.
people think that way about me. Like, it would be a Dan, like, why do you care what those people think about you? Like, we're
Right.
we're what matters. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Straight up.
Can you imagine though?
Oh, I just and I mean I can imagine it because unfortunately it happens to people. People do walk away from things for those situations, but that's where the perspective comes in. That's
Yep.
when the stepping aside, like you said, and looking at it comes in. It's so amazing how many people that this community has helped, and myself being first in line, and how much it's helped me. And that's kind of like this whole conversation. It's got to be two-way street. You got to
Yep.
have appreciation for others, but also know that that appreciation is good for you. You got to have a mental talk with others. You can be the person helping everybody in the world with their mental health, but if you're not sharing your own, how's that going to work? If you fall off, what about all the people that depend on you? What about all the people that you are helping? You got to help yourself as well. And so, and I know I speak for Nick on this. You guys have an open invite to reach out anytime. We are glad to talk to anyone, and many of you have already, and it's continued to be welcomed here.
That's as always, and I won't even say do it because you guys already do it. I'm just gonna say keep doing it, right?
Yep.
Like, keep bringing people into this, keep helping people. Again, remember that helping someone else makes you feel better than someone helping you. And so, I mean, the more we all think that, like, what the hell could go wrong, right?
Yep. All right, guys. This is obviously not an end of a conversation. It's a beginning of a conversation, and we'll continue to sprinkle this in anytime we need, anytime we want. So don't hesitate to bring up questions or topics on any stream in the future. But we do have a gift card to give away, courtesy of Jacked Up Leatherworks, aka Jacob right here. We did not know about this. He just did this on his own, purchased a gift card, and would like to give it away to someone in the chat. So thank you again, Jacob. In chat, how this is going to work is we got about 36 people in here right now. So what we are going to do is it's going to be a random number generator. Now, please understand, I used to use this giveaway method and got away with it for the main reason that the internet is not perfect with delivering things in an up and down list. So when you put your answer and you hit enter, it can only get to my screen or Nick's screen in a single file line. On your screen, the internet will prioritize your answer. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say you pick number 4. I show the number 4 as a win, and I'm like, Billy Bob got it. And everyone's like, my answer's above Billy Bob. How are they dared cheat? And then they send the screenshots, and they tell you that's not how it shows up here. We can only go by what we have here, you guys. So just keep that in mind. Most people, it shows up correct. It only prioritizes your own answer. So just something to keep in mind there. So how this will work is I'm going to give you guys a number range. For example, I could say 1 through 15. I'm not going to, so just make sure you're ready here, just so people don't know where the number range is going to be at. When I say the word go next, not now, when I say the word that's spelled G-O, you type your number and then wait, only enter once. And the one that's going to be right, I got a random number generator. I'll show it on the screen. Once it is correct, I'll stop it, and we'll get the winner out to whoever gets this one. So good luck, everybody here. Nick, you ready to roll?
I'm ready.
All right, you guys. I am looking for the correct number on this generator right in front of me right now between the range of, and I'm going to type it in the chat as well in case anybody can't hear or any visual thing. Okay, or here. A number between 20 and 40, go. Between 20 and 40, only enter once. I have the number here, and we will see who is the first one to get it. If they do, and again, 20 through 40. Now, there is a chance we might have to go again on a round 2 if no one gets it because of overlapping numbers. All right, we do have a winning number, so I will put a stop out there. I'm going to double check to see if anybody was before that winning number.
The number 23 was a very popular answer.
There were a couple that were very common and popping.
Wow.
So, yeah, I absolutely agree. And
what's up with the number 23 right now?
Michael Jordan. It's ingrained in our society. All right, here is the correct number, just straight up off of Google number generator. We have number 31. You guys can see the range there, 20 to 30. And I'm going to triple check, but I believe we only have one 31. And it came
I only see one.
Okay, towards the very end. All right. Yep. Correct answer is Mike Jackson. Oh my gosh, I just said Michael Jordan, then it's Mike Jackson, another legend icon.
The Matrix is messing up today.
Right? Yeah, there's a little glitch.
Get a little creative.
And Mike actually came in originally and said, he was like, hey guys, I'm glad I finally got to make one of these. So perfect.
Right on, dude. Congrats.
Very cool. So Mike, all right, so we got Jacked Up here. So we need to get the gift card from Jacked Up to Mike.
So what we can do is we can look in to see the gift card that Jacked Up Leatherworks purchased.
Okay.
And we can resend that over to Mike. So what Mike will need to do is just send a note over. What do you like to have people do? To send a note to probably just support@drnix.com.
Yep.
Say, hey, I won the gift card giveaway on the live stream. And then we will reply back to that with your gift card code. And you can build your cart like normal. And then in the discount code versus gift, there's one field, discount code gift card.
Yep.
Pop it in there and that value will deduct from your cart.
Yep. Perfect. So Mike, congrats. But Mike, we will need you to reach out to this email right here, support@drnix.com.
Don't forget.
If you or anybody else cannot remember an email, go to the Dr. Nix website, scroll to the very bottom. It's right on the bottom of the website, you guys.
That's
so
it.
You can check that one out. And Jill has some final words. She says, thanks for an amazing stream, everyone. Always know our door is open if anyone needs to talk. And I have to drop, love you all. Be good to yourselves.
That's it. I think Jill has the closing remark there. That's it, guys. I mean, Thanks for being here. Thanks for the awesome idea for the topic. And I'm glad we got to do it. And again, if we need to do another one of these and add to it, talk about more stuff, just send us a note. Suggest it. Hit us up on Instagram, email, whatever works.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, please. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. And while you're at